O come and be the hope in all our lives. Thou chaos and confusion still survive. O come and bring your peace upon the earth, that even now still longs for its rebirth. O come to us like joy of heaven's dawn, from Mary's womb and faithful paragon. O come, you source of love unto us all, enlighten us and help us hear your call.
When the world seems predictable, stuck in patterns of injustice and hurt, the Holy astonishes us with good news, and we find light. Where in the world do we know light these days?
It's not the decorations, it's not about the gifts. It wasn't meant to be another burden on your list. I know you all got worries, let's leave them where they lay. Glory to God, your only job to come and celebrate. Deck the halls and let sleigh ring. Peace on earth, don't worry about a thing. I know your burden's heavy,
'Twas the evening of Christmas, when all through the town every inn was so crowded no room could be found. Tired Mary and Joseph, who went door to door, at last found a place on a small stable floor. "Thank goodness," said Mary, who tiptoed inside. Some animals saw them and scurried to hide. The rest of the creatures all cuddled up tight in hopes that they might have a calm, peaceful night. The moon through the trees was just starting to glow, with a glimmer of light on the stable below, when quite by surprise came a newborn babe's cry that woke all the animals sleeping nearby. Out in the fields taking care of their sheep, some shepherds were just getting ready to sleep, when all of the sudden they had such a fright as an angel from heaven lit up the night. "Be not afraid," the angel then said. They let the shepherds know there was nothing to dread. "Dear shepherds, it is wonderful news that I bring. A Savior is born. He is Jesus the King." And to that small stable came 3 splendid kings, with gifts for the baby, all beautiful things. They jumped from their camels and knelt at his feet, with their frankincense, gold, and myrrh that smelled sweet. The stable was filled with a wonderful light, as stars above Bethlehem twinkled so bright. High in the heavens, God watched his Son, who would bring hope to the world and love everyone. As Mary laid Jesus asleep in the hay, she thought about all that had happened that day. The animals heard her whisper as she tucked him in tight, "Merry Christmas, my son, and to all a good night."
In the darkness, we were waiting.
During the season of Advent, we have been doing a preaching series entitled Have We Met? And it's based on the 4 candles of the Advent wreath: hope, peace, joy, and love.
Hi, I'm Hope. Have we met? In a world full of doubt, skepticism, tragedy, and uncertainty, sometimes I can be hard to find or recognize. Often people look in the wrong places or wait for me to suddenly appear as if by magic. That's not quite how I work. I'm all around and in everything, but if you aren't looking to find me, you will surely miss me. Some of you know me well. Some of you wonder why I have never shown myself in your lives. I promise you, I have always been here. I really want you to know me. Let me help you understand where you might find me. Malala is a young woman that fought for educational rights for girls in Pakistan. She was blessed with a father that ran schools and believed in educating girls. When she was little, she took this for granted, not realizing how many children, boys and girls, lacked educational opportunities in her country. As she matured, she realized that those that were in charge were trying to close down all of the schools for girls. So Malala passed out flyers, made speeches, fought for her right and the rights of others to receive an education. In an attempt to silence her, Malala was shot in the head, and she survived. She lives in another country with her family now, but has never quit fighting. She has hope. She knows hope. She is hope. Malala wrote a children's book called Malala's Magic Pencil, and we read this book a few weeks ago in Sunday school to help us recognize all the blessings that surround us. The things we take for granted, the stuff we should be thankful for every day. The book talks about the hopes that Malala had as a child, wishing that she had a magic pencil that she could create new worlds with, beautiful gardens, nicer clothes for her mother, more schools. And as she matured, she realized that the things she hoped for could be a reality. She knew it in her heart, but it was up to her to help bring that hope into being. Hope is defined as confident expectation. You have an expectation of how things can be or should be, and you are confident that they will be someday. It is a reality that you can envision and believe will one day be lived out, known, experienced. This is the nounness of hope, the thing itself. There is a verbness to hope as well, to want something to happen or be true, and think that it could happen or be true. To really know hope in our lives, we have to understand that it is more than a gift dropped into our laps. It is a reality we have to believe in, move towards, work towards, and live within. A friend recently posted that hope is not a naive, sunny view of life, but it is the capacity not to panic in tight situations, to find ways and resources to address difficult problems. Clinging to hope and moving into hope isn't naive. It's fierce. It's audacious. It's brave. It brings about a new reality. It means that in the midst of the all hell breaking loose, the sun, moon, stars, earth, and sea in an uproar, we look around us and notice that the fig tree is about to bloom. We recognize the resources, the gifts, the blessings, the gift of life in the midst of the uproar, and you cling to it. You move towards it. You join in with it. We act on hope. We do not sit in despair and wait for something new to be dropped into our lives. We move into hope. The world as we know it will be and can be, and we abide there. See, I believe in the promises of God. I have known great tragedy. I have known disappointment. I have known struggle. But I am so glad that I have also known hope. I was introduced to hope at a young age, and hope has carried me through many tough times. And I try to live within that hope daily, and it strengthens me. I am confident that the expectations that we have laid out before me through the words and life of Jesus can be realized. And when they are, it will make all the difference.
Hi, I am Peace. Have we met? It was at our live nativity just a few weeks ago, filled with song and live actors playing all the important parts that you would expect. Children running around playing with our manger animals. But what really caught my attention was a young couple just having a tender embrace over where our campfire was lit. I walked over just to put a few more logs on the fire to keep it going. Fires tend to just call to people to congregate around it. And while I was there, I put a few logs on and was prepared to leave, but I had a lanyard around my neck that shared who I was. And so the couple stopped me and they told me their story. They have been driving down the road right in front of the church and been having a huge argument with one another. And while this was going on, one of them happened to glance over at our electronic sign, and it shared that we were having a live nativity. And so they decided to pull in. And while they were there, seeing the story of Jesus shared alive again, the joy on family and children's faces as they were playing in the interactive petting zoo, and people gathered around the fire, they connected again. And they had this moment of peace. And they said that they had only been married for 1 short year, and they couldn't even remember what they were fighting about. They were glad that they had came that night, because peace that comes at Christmas reminds us all of what Jesus wants to bring all of us. It's to know the state of tranquility. It doesn't come with an education of the mind, but it is a condition of one's heart. And so it really is true. Know Jesus, know peace. But if you know Jesus, then you will know peace.
Joy is the protagonist of Pixar's Inside Out, an animated film about a young girl, Riley, and the emotions that live in her head and help guide her through life. Joy was the first to appear and has been the main emotion in Riley's life. She provides happiness and tries fiercely to protect Riley from the most of the other emotions: anger, disgust, fear, but most importantly, sadness. Joy wants to protect Riley from ever having to experience sadness. She wants Riley's life to be happy, happy, happy. Hi, I'm Joy. Have we met? Most people confuse me with happiness. And from the outside, happiness and I look a lot alike. There is a key difference between us, though. Happiness is usually connected to life circumstances. Most people find happiness in a loving relationship, in a new car, in a baby, in a delicious meal, in a wonderful evening full of friends. You catch my drift. But me, I am more than that. I'm a sort of gladness that is not based on circumstances at all. I am hard to define and often hard to know, but once you do, your entire life will be different. I promise. Joy is such a unique gift in our lives because it allows us to rejoice, to be thankful and grateful in all of life's circumstances, even the ones full of our greatest sorrow. In fact, that is one of the key differences between joy and happiness. Happiness seems to disappear when sadness appears, but joy cannot exist without sorrow. Joy feels like a contradiction, but it is that contradiction that is the power we find in living a life knowing joy. In Inside Out, Riley's world begins to crumble as she reaches her preteen years. She has to move to a new city and starts to feel the other emotions in her life more fully. They are pulled to the forefront of her mind, but joy tries to stop them. She insists that sadness stay away. Because Riley isn't allowed to feel all of her emotion, she doesn't grow and change as she should, and her false world of fake happiness begins to crumble. Joy doesn't understand until a moment in the story where she is forced to work with sadness. And the memory that they make by working together gives Riley's life new dimension. And Riley has a new strength about her because she has lived through this sorrow, while also being carried through by joy. Joy learns that she is different from happiness, and her power is in helping Riley to be able to rejoice even in her sorrow. I am joy. I can be confusing. But we follow a Christ who went to the cross with both joy and sorrow. When the world walks out, I walk in. When happiness flees, I come rushing in. When sorrow is holding your hand, so am I. When you feel alone, I remind you there is a vine. When it is dark, I am the light flickering in the back of your mind. When you feel like crying, I help you remember there are many reasons to rejoice. I am joy, and I would love to meet you.
Hi, I am love. Have we met? There's only one word for love in English, but in most languages around the world there's many, because it means so many different things. There's brotherly love, that's the love that you express to someone who's so close to you or a close friend. There's physical love, and sometimes we even jokingly say making love. There's friendly love that we share with people sometimes who are complete strangers. Maybe you're serving soup at a soup kitchen or out doing mission work. Or there's the love of things, like maybe there are objects that you feel like you have a heart for or love. Maybe you love football or working with your hands, doing woodworking or knitting. There's familial love. That's the love of family. What moms and dads and grandpas and grandpas and sons and daughters and siblings share with one another. But the love that calls us together on this night, Jesus takes it all a step further, because Jesus challenges us to love those who we don't even like, maybe even dislike. It's once been said that you can only love Jesus as much as the person that you like the least. So I am love. Have we met?
So we want to know hope, peace, joy, and love, but how do we get there?
Well, we can't. We can't know unless we know God's ultimate gift that is given to us this night. This gift of light, this gift of Jesus. The very first chapter of Genesis tells us about, in the beginning, the earth being a formless void filled completely with darkness. But then something miraculous happens. God speaks, and the first thing that God does not say is, let there be hope, or let there be peace, or let there be joy, or let there be love. What God says is, let there be light. God's response to the darkness is to turn on a light, and the cosmos that we live in is changed forever. So about 2,000 years ago, on a dark, starry night just outside of Bethlehem, once again God spoke into the darkness. and in essence said, "Let there be light." And a baby was born, and his name was Jesus. In the 12th verse of the 8th chapter of the Gospel of John, Jesus says, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will have the light of life and will never walk in darkness." So I want to share with you a few things about light. First of all, light reveals. Have you ever walked into a dark room and turned on a light? Or asked for a night light to be left on when you were a child? Or turned on a flashlight when you couldn't see enough without it? When a light is turned on, it immediately makes itself known and reveals objects that you could not have seen easily if it was still dark. Anyone who gets up in the middle of the night understands the necessity of turning on a light. Light reveals. Light also draws. Like moths to a flame, people are attracted to the light. When we are at home, we usually gather together in a place that is well lit. We don't gather together in dark places. We gather someplace that is well lit because it makes us feel warm and safe and comfortable. When we're out camping, no memory sticks with us longer than usually gathering around a campfire to sing and to laugh and to share stories with one another, because light has the power to draw us together in ways that darkness never ever can. Light also directs. When the children of Israel were in the wilderness, God used light to guide their path when it was dark outside. The Lord went ahead of them and guided them with a pillar of fire by night. When it is dark, we're still being led by light even today, whether it's a traffic light or a street lamp or maybe a well-lit sign lit over a place that we are trying to find. Light guides us. And just like these contemporary tools, it was also a light in the sky which guided the wise men to Jesus, to something divine, to something life-changing. And so God brings the light of Jesus into the world, a light that reveals, a light that draws, a light that directs. Now there is one more thing that God wants you to know about light, that God intends God's light to be shared. The 5th chapter of Matthew tells us, "You are like light for the whole world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. No one lights a lamp and then puts it under a bowl. Instead, it is put on a lampstand, where it gives light for everyone to see. In the same way, your light must shine before all people." May your gift to Jesus tonight be a renewed commitment to keep on punching holes in the darkness of our world, to lift up His light for all to see, to share the good news of the gospel, to speak truth to life, and to try and live more holy. And finally, to follow God and to allow God to turn on the light of Christ that is within you. Only then can you know the hope, peace, joy, and love that you are looking for. So come to the manger, because the Christ child is asking you this night, I'm Jesus. Have we met?
The opening verses of the Gospel of John take us far before the birth of Jesus, all the way back to the moment of creation where God speaks and goodness happens. And so these opening verses of John say, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God, and through Him all things came into being, and without Him not one thing came into being. And what came into being was life, and that life was the light of all people. And a light shines in the darkness, and the darkness will never overcome it."